Hello, Apple speaking here.
Hey Apple!
I am a financial analyst.
Welcome at the conference call meeting. What's your question?
We heard that Steve is not doing so well. How is he doing?
Steve Jobs' health is a private matter.
But can't you say anything? At least he is Apple and Apple is Steve.
We said no. The analysts are left in the dark. But is this wise for Apple to withhold information that is demanded by analysts? This is the topic of Hollander, Pronk and Roelofsen. Does silence speak? The starting point is the agency conflict. This conflict arises in public companies from the separation of ownership and management. Shareholders are the owners. They have little information over the company's performance. On the other hand, there is the management. Management has a lot of information over the company's performance. This unequal division of information is known as information asymmetry. The information that management has can be interesting for the shareholders. They want this information. But management may not want to give the information. In this study, conference calls are used to find out whether managers hold information back that is wanted by stakeholders. And the effects of this withholding of information on the stock prices are studied. Conference calls are used because their scripts are openly accessible for anyone. Besides, the scripts provide a direct measure for incomplete disclosure of information. Direct measure means that it can easily be determined if the question is answered or not. Back to the Apple example. The analyst wants to know how Steve is doing. Is he feeling better or worse? Apple knows how Steve is doing. But Apple does not want to share this information with the analyst. Information was clearly not provided. Back to the theory. In this study, a sample of conference calls from U.S. firms from the S&P 1500 between January 1st and December 31st, 2004 is used. The sample is limited by only taking those calls that were held during trading hours. For each call, an event window is defined. The event window starts at the beginning of each call. It ends 90 minutes thereafter. In this event window, stock prices are measured. Several predictors for disclosing information were tested. 3 predictors have a positive relation with disclosing information. The first predictor is CEO stock price-based incentives. So, the higher the CEO stock price-based incentives, the more information is disclosed. Firm performance is a second predictor that has a positive relation with disclosing information. The last predictor, with a positive relation with information disclosure, is company age. So, older companies are more likely to disclose information than new companies. 3 predictors are found with a negative relation with disclosing information. The first predictor with a negative relation with disclosing information is firm size. So, the bigger the firm, the less likely companies are to disclose information. The second predictor with a negative relation with disclosing information is litigation risk. The last predictor is whether analysts are actively involved during the conference calls. Actively involved means asking a large number of questions. The hypothesis that disclosing information affects a firm's market price is tested by dividing the sample into 2 groups: calls that do not contain incomplete disclosure and calls that do contain incomplete disclosure. The effects of those calls on the stock prices are measured. Calls that do not contain incomplete information disclosure show a positive relation with stock prices. Calls that do contain incomplete information disclosure show a negative relation with stock prices. Let's go back to Apple. The conference call with Apple did contain incomplete information disclosure. And indeed, stock prices of Apple declined after the conference call with 2.6%. In other words, silence speaks.
Created using Powtoon.